and everybody walks. So all you had to do was stand there in the store, and you'd eventually see everybody in town going, and people went home for lunch. The ladies at the bean house would keep track of us at the beach right below them. They had benches all along the outside when they were taking a rest. I imagine that was really hard work because they were standing all day long.
You had a story about Bud when he got into trouble? When he took some coins?
Oh, thank you. So my brother is probably 8, 9, something like that. Everybody, of course, is going out of the house. He's home alone. And in his, mess around the house, he finds the bank change purse with change in it from the store. So he helps himself to some of the change, and then he goes down the street and picks up his pal Bobby, and he and Bobby, he romanced Bobby some way. Anyway, the two of them take off, and right next door here we had a beautiful drugstore, complete with a soda fountain. So he and Bobby go into the soda fountain and they belly up to the bar and order whatever. And they're having a very good time. And whoever's working, the owner or whoever was in there, knew who they were and they had money. So he promptly calls my mother, who's just getting ordered across the street, that the kids are there and, is everything okay? She didn't even take a breath. She just said, call the cops. I'm not even near done yet. So they call the police, and the police come, and of course scare the kids to death. And so they, no, what do you want us to do with them? Take them to jail. So they did. So they take these two, I'm sure just walling their heads off. They take these two kids to jail, which was right across the street from us. And my mother lets them just sit there. And she didn't go get them. And eventually she broke down and went and bailed her child out of jail and brought him over to the store. And I'm sure just beat the tar out of both of them and sent Bobby home. Well, I didn't hear the end of that story until a few years ago when my brother got married and Bobby was at the wedding. And that's the first thing he started, they never forgot this. So Bobby said to me, he says, you know what, Helen, you know what happened then? He says, I went home, my mother noticed my eyes all red and wanted to know what had happened, what made me cry. And he said, Mrs. Marie spanked me. And he said, she didn't say one word. She turned me over and spanked me again. Things were a lot different. Another episode of my mother, the bus stop, we all went to Oxford to the high school on 5th Street. The bus stop, we were on the corner, was the bus stop. And so Halloween comes around and Mom comes to work the day after Halloween, all the fences are down. They've taken all the fences down. That's a whole block and across. And so she waits till everyone gets to the bus stop. She comes out and she goes, you, and you. You show up here after school and put my fences back up. But Marie, we didn't knock them down. You, and you get over here and put the fence back up. And they did. Adults had a little bit of authority in those days.
And the joys of living in a small town. Yeah. Can't get away with anything. Well, so you graduated from high school.
In 42. And high school, Oxford in those days, took in Oxnard, obviously, all of Hueneme, all of the orchards, clear out to and including Thousand Oaks,
Right.
all of Camarillo, and everything in between.
That's right.
And in 42, when we graduated, there were still only 300 kids. Yeah, yeah. All the guys, of course, by that time had either joined the service, or were waiting to join the service. So the harbor opened when the
In
no,
1940,
when the Navy take it.
well, 39, they started dredging. Yeah. talk
No,
about the-
but when did the Navy buy?
42.
42, yeah.
Okay,
So the year you
42,
graduated,
okay.
yeah.
I'm 16. And so the Navy had taken over all the property, which had been donated by Richard Bard to build the harbor in the first place. And chain link fences all the way around. So we're sitting out on the porch, and this train comes up the line on the Navy side, and it's full of 18, 20-year-old young men. That was exciting. Because we didn't have any people left here. And so the train goes by, and then all of a sudden I hear somebody yell, "Hey, Helen!" What was one of the locals who had joined the Seabees, gone back to Norfolk for training, and then got sent back out here again. So that was my introduction to the Seabees. Pretty nice.
So they dredged the harbor, and talk about that a little bit, and the lighthouse and.
Oh, the lighthouse. The lighthouse was a twin to Point Fueneme.
Yeah, well, one of 6.
Pardon?
One of 6. They were 6.
Yeah. It was a beautiful thing.
Victorian.
So they have dredged the harbor now. The lighthouse is in the way. It's on Navy property. They don't want it. So they decide they're going to move it across the harbor to the other side, to the Silver Strand side, and make a yacht club, which was a great idea. Except they called in Breaky. I don't know what his first name was. His last name was Breaky. Oh, really?
John, yeah.
Okay, they called in John Breaky. He was that local house mover to move this huge lighthouse across the water. You know, and the tides are going up and down, and, you know, just imagine. So he comes in. It was a big, big deal in those days. Jacks it up, trucks it across the sand and down to the water, gets it on the barge. This didn't happen in 20 minutes. This was a big, everybody in the county was there to watch this. Runs it across the channel and brings it up on the other side, back onto the sand again, and, you know, sets it up. Do you know what? The Navy tore it all down. It was all for nothing. It was that beautiful building. It's so too bad. Yeah, they didn't want it. They couldn't use it. There was a lot more things on their minds than building a pretty yacht club.
Termites.
Our harbor was one of the busiest harbors on the coast in those days. They just shipped material out of here like you would not believe. Yeah, I think we were the second busiest on the whole coast.
Yeah, that's right. And talk about when the Navy was after Pearl Harbor, what happened here in the area? What was that like? When all the sailors started coming in, and what was it like?
It was really, for me, it just was a lot more people. They, of course, were training. They were getting ready to be deployed. And so they were kept in during the week. On the weekends, when it was time to go dancing, they all went to Hollywood. They're all hitchhiking out on the highway trying to get out of town, which I didn't think was fair at all. I didn't. Anyway, it didn't. The fellas on the base, of course, the families came in, and they're at the corner of Pleasant Valley and Ventura Road. The Navy started setting up these Quonset huts for the families. And a lot of that made a big difference in the schools, the businesses, because you had families. Before that, when there were just sailors, they were all busy learning how to be a sailor or soldier. Yeah.
So, one of the sailors was named Bob Brant.
Oh, well,
How'd you meet?
at this point, now the USO comes in. Bless the USO. And I had 3 or 4, depending on the time, of course, girlfriends. We'd all been all through school together, and we all liked to dance, and we all thought we were pretty good. So we joined the USO, and they had these dances 2 or 3 times a week in farms, abandoned buildings, anywhere they could have a dance floor. And we made it our business to be there all the time. So it was really funny because you'd go home from work, and I don't remember ever worrying about taking a shower or anything. Just change your clothes. There were no stockings, of course, and you had to wear high heels. And so you had leg makeup. Leg makeup was just like the makeup you use on your face, I guess, today. It was a liquid. You got the color you wanted, and you put on your fancy clothes, and you go to the designated area where they were going to pick you up in a troop carrier. You know, those great big trucks with a bench down each side, and we're in our best. And they'd haul us off to some place, you know, just wherever the dance was going to be that night. And you go in and do your duty, and it was really, really fun. At the Barn Mansion estate out here, they had a barn that we used that was really uptown. And they had main bands there. I can remember walking out the front door of the house, and I could hear Harry James, the Harry James, there with his band, and the noise would waft over to, I couldn't, my feet were itchy. And they did have a lot of big names there. It was really fun.
What dances were you dancing?
Songs?
Lindy Hop is one. I don't know. Oh, we were jitterbugging. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
I didn't realize they had they met at different places around the area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was a dance floor on the second floor at the corner of 5th and, it's not C, it's probably B Street, Oxnard. We went there a lot. We went out to the Barn estate quite often. Anyway.
So tell about meeting Bob and...
Oh, so that was, a girlfriend and I were coming back from a dance. We had a bus service in those days. The bus driver's name was, I'll get it in a minute. I had it a minute ago. Anyway, she decided she was our guardian. She took care of all of us. And so Nina and I sat down. There's 2 sailors sitting in front of us. Of course, they twist around and we're receptive. And we talk all the way home. Well, the guy on this side was blonde. That's all I can remember. This side was a little bit darker. So the blonde guy asked me to go out. Obviously, we changed phone numbers or addresses or something. Asked me to go out. The dark guy went with Nina. And so we had a date. I think just one. In the meantime, the dark guy, you're not gonna believe this, decides he likes my teeth.
Okay.
He was obsessed with, he could tell you anybody's teeth till the day he died. If he ever met you, he was upset, and he liked mine. So we switched, and Bob and I went out. We eventually got engaged. We eventually got married. Yada, yada, yada. Be careful who you laugh with.
So where did you live when you first got married?
We lived in a little house over here at the corner at 5th, little 2-bedroom house that belonged to my mother. And we had Bonnie, John, and Nancy there, 3 babies. It had a sun porch. We ran out of bedrooms, so the sun porch came in handy. And then we built a house on Ventura Road that we stayed in forever after, and 2 more kids there. One of them is here today. I don't see him, but
2 of them.
There he is.
well, we had John while we were on 5th Street. Gary came along, and those are the only 2 houses I ever lived in until I got to Cyprus. Yeah.
Yeah. So, your mother died in 1951.
That was really, really tough.
Do you want to talk about that?
No.
Okay, and you and Bob?
Bob and I had bought the store from her before, probably 4 or 5 years before. And she, of course, finally in her, she was only 54 when she died, could relax. She was getting ready to have some surgery done to go back to France. She had never seen her family again after she left. And the surgery went awry and she died in the hospital. Bob and I continued with the store, and we're still a small town at this point, and we had so much fun. We had harbor dates, we had these things, and we had the museum that we got completely involved in. So did the kids. Parades. Oh, when we had the parade, we had at one point something like 40,000 people here. It was a big, big, big deal. Celebrities in our parades. It was, yeah.
So you dressed up with your old-timey...
Oh, our old-time bathing suits. If you go to the pizza place out at the harbor, Toppers, go to the 2nd floor, right at the foot of the stairs, at the head of the stairs. There's a great big picture of a bunch of females, all in these old-fashioned bathing suits. The second one from the left is me. I showed it to someone at Cyprus where I live now, and she just loved it. So it's on the TV now. Every once in a while I go out, oh.
There you are. So in the 60s, they started doing the redevelopment. And talk about that a little bit.
No, it was too bad. Yeah, everything was gone. Once they came in with the redevelopment, we're lucky we still have this nice building. Everything was gone. They paid you. We fought about that, of course. I imagine those people did. They didn't pay you what you thought you were worth, but that's common. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. It didn't have anything to say about it. They just did it. And people moved out. A lot of them went to Oxnard, whatever. Can't help you.
Yeah, that was an upsetting time, I think, because so many historic buildings were just knocked down. The names of the streets were changed.
Well, that's what's so hard for me now. I can't tell you what street it's on because it's not that street and it hasn't been for years. Yeah, so.
Yeah, one of the Mirandas said when they did the redevelopment, they forgot the re part of it.
Yeah.
Kind of left over the things.
The Mirandas were a large family here in town. Their houses, they kept their house, but we just all grew up together, so I felt like I was part of their family. And their youngest son, Paul, is exactly the same age as my son, Gary. And they were a lot more than we were. Things were more proper at their house. And not stiffly so, but more proper. With our house, most anything went as long as you didn't kill yourself or someone else. So Paul said, their youngest son, some years ago, I was talking to him and he said, Helen, he said when things would get too stiff, no, that's not the word he used. What he meant was stiff. At my house, I just go to your house. And he'd come strolling, he was part of the family, went on vacation with us, and Paul was exactly right for Gary. They had many adventures together. At one point, it was vacant land. That street is all built up now. The alley is all built up. You wouldn't even know it was the same place. But it was from Miranda's lived across the alley from us. And from there to Pleasant Valley Road was nothing. It was just a playground. So at one point, the gay kids decided to dig to China. That was always the objective, they didn't dig to China. So they go out into this field and start digging, and they dig this huge hole that's out there. Well, the ice cream truck, you know, the one that jiggles,
Yeah.
he would come up the alley, make a U-turn, and go back down, trying to get rid of some ice cream. Well, this one particular day, he came down the alley, and he noticed it was all vacant, you know, just a field there, with a street on the other side. So he decided he'd go across the field. And he fell in the hole. That was very exciting. I guess they brought in a tow truck or something because he was in the hole. So in those days, the kids had so much room to play. You know, our gang had all those fields. They had the creek. The creek was loaded with various animals, and they would go down. You never looked for them. You knew where they were. They were down at the creek doing something dumb, but they were happy, and they were out of the house. That made Mommy happy. I'm just talking now, so you have to shut me up.
Let's finish, but just tell about your favorite part of the beach to go to and what a good day would look like.
Oh, I still feel that way. Okay, of course everybody walked all the time. Nobody had a car. We didn't have at high school, now you go by high school, it looks like a parking lot. Every kid's got a car. The only kids that had cars when I was in high school were the Japanese kids. They all had cars. But the reason they had cars was to get home and get to work, because they were working out in the fields. I'm talking too much.
No, you're not.
Where was I?
You're talking about going to the beach.
Being a hunter does have its problems.
About a good day at the beach.
Oh,
What
okay,
it looked
okay.
like.
So we would, when we went to the beach, we took a towel. We didn't take the water and a sandwich and a cap and an umbrella and what else? To this day, I kick myself that I didn't think of making one of these wagons that they have now. We took a towel. So we'd walk down here and the beach right off of the market was the best beach. Not this way and not that way, this way. And we go in, the water, depending, of course, how good a beach day it was by the time you got home was how many times you've been in and out of the water. You go in the water. The Mirandas were champions at body surfing. There wasn't any surfing with a board in those days, but you could body surf if you were good. So I learned to body surf from watching them. So you go in, you get cold, you come out, get good and sandy, get nice and warm, go back in. How many times you went in was how successful the day was. Do love the beach.
Did you take food with you or?
Oh no,
No?
a towel.
Just a towel.
A towel.
And what about the wharf? Did you go out on the wharf?
The what?
The wharf here,
Oh.
up here?
Only to jump off of it. Didn't have I wasn't into fishing in those days. No, the boys would go clear out to the end and jump off and swim back. Myself and my girlfriend, we'd go out, there was a ladder. I don't know why there was a ladder, but about halfway out there was a ladder. And we'd jump off there, which was just beyond the surf line. So we'd catch a wave and help us come back. But I learned to body surf. In fact, I taught some of the grandkids too how to body surf.
A grand surfing grandma.
I can't do that anymore. It makes me dizzy watching water. My balance is completely gone.
Was there anything else you'd like to?
Well, does anyone might have a question, or can I help you with something? Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah, I have a two-part question. So you mentioned the Japanese kids, and was wondering, do you recall in the onset of World War II, were your Japanese neighbors taken away to internment camps, and what was the reaction to it?
Oh, crying.
I have a second part. So go ahead.
Tears.
Yeah?
They came into the typing class at one point and took them right out of the typing class. We all just cried. They were our friends.
Yeah.
They were our friends.
Did any of them come back?
As far as I know, everyone I knew did come back. Yeah.
And were their farms taken over by
Oh,
ruthless
absolutely.
people?
And one Japanese family owned a grocery store, quite a large one, in Oxnard, and they got him and took him. He had a Mexican friend. The Mexican, this is hard to believe today. He had a Mexican friend that came in, took over the store, ran it for him for the whole war. When he came home, his store was intact. Because of that man.
Asagi Martin, that's a song. Now Takasugi.
Yes.
Yeah, that was right. Helen, I wanna know if your mother ever learned to speak English,
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you learned to speak French.
I spoke French fluently by the time I was like 4. I was fluent. After that, my father was died. Once my father died, that gets me started off another way. There was a large French colony here in those days, and they would say, when they got here, what's the English word for it? What's the? And then after they're here a few years ago, what's the French word?
Oh.
Anyway, so it was barbecues and, with the French people, we went out to Foster Park and various places. We made our own wine in those days. It was prohibition, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, we made our own wine at our house. And everyone was always there. Once my father died, they all disappeared. Yeah. I never got through forgiving them for that. So my mother was on her own. The people that did show up to help, and by mean help, I mean buy groceries from us. We didn't expect them to, to wash our face or anything, buy other groceries, were the Mormon people. We had a lot of Mormons in those days here. And nobody could ever say anything against Mormons to me because they were the ones that showed up when we needed customers. Yeah.
What market is Market Street named after?
I don't know.
It's named after the fact that there was
Well,
when they would go to
what-
market.
Oh, Market.
Whatever markets they were on Market Street.
Yeah, no, all the wagons would go to market that way. Yeah, that's what it was.
In World War II, my grandfather was out here at the Sini base. He taught them construction techniques. My grandmother came out. She said she worked in a restaurant in downtown Port Hueneme. Was there a is this downtown, this area?
This is it. She probably worked at Ace's, and it was a full-on restaurant and very well done, and I'm sure that's where she worked. It was right down the street here.
Down on Market Street or down?
Right.
Really?
So we didn't have a freezer in the store. We did not have a refrigerator at home. We had a cooler. A cooler being, it didn't have a floor in it. And so the air would come in, go under the house, cool off, and come up. So that's where you kept your butter and your milk and stuff. That's as good as you got. But on Sunday night after dinner, we'd all pile in the car. We'd come down to Ace's, where your relative was probably working, get some ice cream, and go home.
So your house did not have a basement?
Oh heavens, no! There was one house in town that had a basement. That was the other French family in town. They lived right up the street here, maybe 4 blocks. The Pupettes. And they had a basement. Yeah.
It was too expensive to build.
The water level was too high, is what I heard.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And another World War II question. So the only attack on the United States, mainland United States in World War II, I believe, was the Japanese submarine bombing of the oil field in Goleta.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if, when that happened, did the people of Port Hueneme, did they know about it? Were they really alarmed about it, invasion, or what?
Well, of course we all knew it right away, but I don't remember anybody being upset about it. Frightened. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't feel like you would be bombed too, or anything like that? No.
Personally, no.
No, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.